All right, second, guys, I want to make sure I can get my camera up here or whatever. Hey, guys, it's Steve. The title of this is Self Defense or Not. The reason why I felt compelled to make this video is, well, currently we got gun laws that are going to gun laws. It's very difficult for you to keep up on. It's just almost impossible. Um, what's legal in one state is not legal in another state. If you follow guns or you follow the gun control bills that we're putting out, then you feel my pain. Um, However, it occurred to me after hearing a story from an individual and also seeing things that are in the news about individuals who are utilizing self defense, um, protection of their property and themselves. Let's get it clear real quick. Deadly force is that force which is known or should be known to cause death or serious bodily injury or serious bodily harm. It is only used as a last resort when all lesser means have failed. Now, let's kind of nitpick this down a little bit because here is the scenario. Let's say, for example, you're in your home and someone breaks into your home. Um, are you authorized to utilize self defense? Well, yes and no. And you have to look at these kind of scenarios to put yourself in this kind of scenario, these scenarios to warrant your decision to utilize deadly force. Now, I know I'm going to hear all the big macho guys and everybody say, well, somebody right, I'm shooting them right there. Okay. And I feel the same way. I really do. You're entering my property. You're putting my life and my family's life in danger. And um, I shouldn't have to make the decision on self defense or self defense, use of force, and the castle doctrine is supposed to protect me in that scenario, but it doesn't. Here's some reasons why. If you look at the definition of deadly force, it doesn't say anything about defense of others. I'm pointing this out because these are the arguments that the district attorney and the prosecuting attorney and the jury will look at you when you go before the court. Now, make no mistake about it. If you pull and you use your weapon in any case, form, or fashion, then you're going to jail. You're going to go to jail. There's an injury. You caused the injury. Um, the cops are there to work out they're not there to work out the details. They're there to de-escalate the situation. You had the gun, you used it, so guess what? We're going to take you out of the whole equation, de-escalate the situation, and you're going to go to jail. Period. I mean, it doesn't make no difference what the situation is or whatever. Even if it's in your home, you're going to catch a case. Many people disagree with that, but using the tricks and the procedures that are followed by district attorneys and, like I said, um, prosecuting attorneys, here's the scenario. That's one case scenario in your home. So the key is defense of yourself. It doesn't say anything about protection of others. This is a key this is a key point right here. Yourself, that comes into play because was your life in danger at the time you pulled the trigger? Was your life threatened at the time you pulled the trigger? Were you personally in fear of your life when you pulled the trigger? Let's get down to brass tacks. If an individual is pointing a weapon at another person, are you authorized to take this person out? Common sense would say, yeah, you're preventing a death. The justice system doesn't look at that way because you have to use, after all lesser means, That means you had to try to talk to the individual. You had to call the police, talk to the individual, try to talk him down, blah, 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 blah. So you can make all your efforts. When all reasonable efforts have failed, then you're authorized to pull the trigger. Just saying, that's where they're gonna charge you there. Next scenario is if you are in a store or establishment of some place that you're authorized to carry your weapon. Myself, I carry two. Well, I carry a non-lethal HCR 50 T4 model that I've modified a little bit to get some more foot pounds. So it won't kill anybody, but it'll definitely get their attention and they won't be happy. I utilized it with synthetic balls, and I also used it with CS gas as far as pellets. So I carried that. However, the fact is, if I am in a firefight or if I do get into a situation to where I got to defend myself, I have an 1851 Navy Confederate Colt, which shoots lead ball. It is not considered a firearm. It's not considered a weapon. It's not considered anything that's against the law. It's classified as an antique curio device. And you can carry this openly. You can carry this on your person, in your vehicle, or whatever. Even if you're a felon, you can. But I can't say that it's a good idea. There are two ways of looking at this. One, when you open carry, okay, or someone knows that you're concealed carrying, you become one thing. You become a deterrent. The deterrent aspect is that you let the whole world know that you're carrying and that you have every potential, or you have every potential of actually harming somebody if they cause harm to you. However, when you open carry, the general public reacts negatively because the fact is, oh, he scared me with that gun. Oh, well, it hasn't left its holster. It's not bothering anybody. But the fact is, just because you're actually carrying it openly. Willie Nelson had a song that portrayed this. He said, I wear my gun outside my pants for all the world to see. This is a deterrent. This is something that is utilized to actually not only protect yourself, but actually protect others, because it's not just an easy job. So, but the dilemma is that you're going to get negative feedback. You're going to be closely watched by the law. You're going to be questioned. You're going to be stopped. You're going to be. Now, I understand all these things are against the law by police, by the police force or law enforcement officers to detain you or anything because you're actually legally carrying. But that doesn't make it so. That's not the way it is on the street. The way it is on the street is that they go above and beyond their duty to actually harass you, to make sure that you understand that the public is complaining and that you have to conform to the public. Now let's get this straight real quick. A law enforcement officer at this point in time, they don't get praise for writing tickets. They don't get praise for standing up and doing the right thing. They get promotions, raises, these things if they're involved in what was called as a critical situation, critical situation, gunfight, whatever, They get recognition. They get the name in the paper. The family's proud. They get an award. They go take a picture, whatever. But the case in point is that they're not doing it for the right reason. One of the best tools that you can actually have in any good officer a law enforcement officer that you will meet, believes in one principle: community policing. That means they keep the peace. That means they keep the peace. They're not responsible for. They're not responsible, or they will not hold responsibility to them reacting to an active shooter situation. We proved that from Uvalde. They are not responsible for that. It's not in their job description. Because now you're asking a guy to put his life in danger for everybody else. Now, let me just put it this way. There's a lot of people who have a problem doing that. I believe, though, that I would take it to the next step, or most people would take it to the next step. There's kids being shot in there. I got to go do something. I've got to get in there or whatever. This is just one case scenario. But we have learned from the Columbine incident, from all these incidents of mass shooters. Here's what we've learned. The majority of these mass shooters, they don't carry it to fruition. They will not face the cops. They take their own life. They don't have they don't want to face the probability of them getting shot by police officers. And since Columbine was the major case that started all this, because law enforcement was trained up until this point to secure the area, secure egress and ingress to the area, and wait it out, created as a hostage situation. Well, that used to work back in the old days. Remember, bank robberies, and they take prisoners, and, they negotiate their religion. They don't have it no more. So we had to change with the times, or supposedly change with the times. But we have learned through our mass shootings, multiple mass shootings, that it's very difficult to get. It's very good to command and control of the situation. It's very difficult for all people to be on the same side or are all speaking the same language when it talks to law enforcement. So that's a cluster right there. And I'm not saying all law enforcement officers are like this. What I'm saying is that they're not properly trained to actually respond to these type of conditions, and they don't train but maybe once a month on it. And that once a month that they do train, it's all in the classroom. They go, okay, we got that. All right, well, let's go on, let's move on, or whatever. So here's the worst case scenario. You utilize your weapon. Okay, let's give you an example. Okay. Say, for example, you're in your local convenience store or a local store or establishment, and you're open, and you have your weapon with you, you're carrying. You see an individual walk in, and start shooting down an aisleway. Well, you assume that he's shooting at people, so you pick up your weapon and you shoot at him and you knock him down, take him out of commission, and you may or may not have saved a lot of lives. But here's the deal. If he was just shooting down one of the aisle, if there wasn't anybody on that aisle, he's going to walk. Now, he may walk, but he should be limping when he leaves out of the hospital. But anyway, the thing about it is that you're assuming that he's shooting at other people, and the district attorneys and the prosecuting attorneys will actually bring that up in court. Did you see him threaten somebody else? Well, no, he was shooting. Was he pointing this weapon at somebody? What did he? Gets into all kind of things whenever the district attorneys get hold of this crap. Because you're there based on the fact is that there was a shooting inside this establishment, and I don't care, somebody's going to jail until we figure this shit out. So given our case scenario, you shoot at this individual, and he's never pointed a weapon at you, he's never threatened you directly, you're on the hook right there. There's a possibility that you can be convicted of a crime, a felony, just for you thinking you're doing the right thing and saving other people's lives. Well, he would eventually shot something. Well, you don't know that. You can assume, and you could actually make a good educated decision that he's going to turn that way, but until he does, he hasn't done anything. Not in the eyes of the law. To you, you're scared shitless, and you're like, you know what? Somebody shooting, I'll shoot you back. That'd be my reaction. But once I got into looking at these cases of self-defense, I started noticing that these individuals who were actually protecting themselves and protecting others, they started going to jail. They started getting trials. They started getting found guilty of lesser charges. So, in other words, a deadly force definition does not hold up in court. They will utilize all the words necessary or whatever to where it looks like that you were the guilty party in this, and you didn't have any reasonable backing or any stated definition of deadly force. So now you're stuck. So what do? Well, what the police are teaching us now is that you run, you hide, or you fight. The last scenario is you fight. So you're supposed to run, and you're supposed to hide, and then if you can't get out of it, you're supposed to fight. Keep in mind, this doesn't say anything about protecting other people. It doesn't keep in mind that you yourself, you want to be a hero and stop this potential massacre before it happens. But you haven't followed the definition of deadly force, because it doesn't specify that you can use deadly force in the defense of others. Remember, we covered that, defense of others. The only thing it says is you can defend yourself. So I'm just giving you every opportunity to understand that this is not going to you're going to be a hero and they're going to make parades for you, whatever. No, you're going to go to trial. And if you don't go to trial by your county, or then you're going to go to state trial. You will have maybe multiple trials to satisfy the need that you actually killed an individual while he was perpetrating a robbery, whether he could or could not have been shooting at people. You're going to go to jail. Now, what does this mean? Okay, I go to jail, I post bond, I get an attorney. Okay, there's $50,000 right there. You have it in that. That's just to get the trial. You're not even going to consider about the attorney fees and all that later. I mean, that's going to come as later. It's going to start adding up like a calculator. And if you go with the cheapest attorney, you're going to get cheap representation. So there you are, you're stuck. So now you make bail. You put up your second on your house. You make bail. You get out. Then you wait 2 years for a trial. Meanwhile, this is hanging over you. It's already on your record that you were arrested for. Whatever case they make up or whatever, and you can't get that removed until you go to trial. Hey, 2 years before you can go to trial, especially in these type of cases. So you got that hanging over your head for 2 years. Now, some people say it's worth it. Some people say it's not. However, the fact is there are a lot of people out there that just can't afford attorneys. Case in point, you cannot afford to defend yourself. You can rely on a public defender. The best you're going to hope for there is a plea bargain. That's the best you're going to do. So the way the justice system works out for individuals who are trying to do the right thing, sometimes doing the right thing ain't always doing the right thing. So here we go. It's basically down to this. Do I assume the responsibility of protecting others? Put myself on a limb like that? Or do I hereby the definitions that are placed before me when I can utilize deadly force? Do I utilize those? That's your choice. I don't know. And it's going to be your choice whenever it actually happens to you. It's very simple. It's very simple to play Monday morning quarterback whenever you look at scenarios or whatever. And you're like, well, would I have or would I not have? Everybody's like, well, yeah, I would. Yeah, okay. Till it comes down to the nut cutting, I'm telling you this right now, you're going to have second thoughts about pulling that trigger. And if you don't, then trust me, it's going to live with you forever. Now, the second case scenario is that if someone is injured during this robbery or the shooting or whatever, what is your obligation there? Common sense tells us that you would go help this individual. You would go and start the breathing, stop the bleeding, protect the wound, and treat for shock. That's basically all you can do at that time without any further equipment. But those things you can actually do to actually give that person time to get to a medical facility. Well, don't get me wrong, whenever there's an individual who has wounded or injured in a gunshot wound, the first 10 to 15 minutes, what you do in the first 10 to 15 minutes is crucial, because what are you doing? You're buying time. You're buying time for this individual to get to medical facilities so they can properly be addressed and go to the next level. And what you've done is you've actually created a stable individual, maybe critically wounded or whatever, but they are still breathing. You're not bleeding no more. You're still breathing. He's not in shock. And with those case scenarios, you think you've done your job. Well, here's where it gets funny. Because you shot this individual who was perpetrating this crime, and because you shot this individual, which led to you treating this patient, there's a civil lawsuit right there. Let me tell you why. Because the family of the person you shot, who was guilty as hell shooting these people, they're going to go to the next level. I'll give you an example. In a, let's say, a tourniquet situation, it's instructed that you put the tourniquet 2 to 3 inches above the wound. Preferably it's 2 inches. So that's the parameter, 2 to 3 inches. They're going to get you in civil court because the fact is that, you know what? You put the tourniquet 1 inch from the wound, 1 inch from the wound, or 4 inches, whatever. So right there, your case goes out the window, because the fact is you didn't know what you were doing, did you? But the whole thing is, during the heat of battle, I don't have a measuring tape to measure this shit or whatever. And they would make the case that you actually, by your actions, you actually caused this person to die. Civil lawsuits are different than criminal lawsuits. A civil lawsuit will take you maybe 5-6 years for it to get heard. Right now in the 5th District Court, we've got civil cases out the yin yang, and they won't address them. However, they'll address something when it's important, when the government gets involved, but they don't address the backlog of cases they have. And this is what's working against you, because the fact is you don't get a speedy trial. I had a lawyer tell me one time, there's no speedy trial in Texas. So we just blew that myth up right there. So attorneys, think about playing on my dog smoke. So attorneys know this. A defense attorney going in, the best I can do is get a plea deal. When you get a plea deal, you plead guilty, it's on your record. And guess what? It's a felony. You would have to think twice about shooting this individual who was causing all kind of ruckus and treating the wounded, because it could ultimately come back on you, and you're responsible. There is no law if you fail to render first aid. There is a law if you don't call 911. There's a line there is a precedent if you leave the scene, if you're running from the scene or whatever, because you're like, oh shit, I'm out of here, man. You get in your truck and you leave the scene, boom, that's another charge on you right there. You left the scene of an accident. So there's so many ways that you can actually get hammered or be held legally accountable that you haven't even thought about yet. And these are things that are going to come up in the DA's investigation and the Texas Ranger investigation. All these things are going to come up, and they're going to come down. Well, did he have to pull the trigger? Now, they can't answer that question, because the fact is, if they say, yeah, he had to pull the trigger, then they're actually condoning and putting themselves on the line and saying, yeah, they set a precedence. In this case scenario, it's okay. What has this done? We've created scenarios to where it's got to fit all the freaking boxes before you can walk free. Yes, we have USCCA. They are a group that will so they will get you out of jail. They will post bond, and they'll represent you in court the whole 9 yards. There's multiple cases that they have dropped because the fact is, here's the bottom line: if you have a legal weapon and it's a legal weapon, and they determine that you have done anything legal, they'll drop the case and say, okay. He's like, no, they make the determination. They don't give a shit what happens in trial. They don't represent you in trial. So all of these insurance companies that are supposed to protect you against these scenarios, they drop out of the wayside. And you would think that they would actually have a group of lawyers there that would actually be pertinent to your case, and they would assign it to this lawyer. No, it's done by committee. They go into this big room. Okay, here's this case, blah, 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 whatever. We'll take it. Yeah, no. That's how these people work. And I know at least 3 cases that I know of where they dropped the ball, got him out of jail, but hell, then they left him on his own. Had to find his own attorney, the whole 9 yards or whatever. People, we're talking about big money. We're talking about you having with the criminal trial and the civil trial. You're talking about just to go to court and represent yourself. You're talking about $100,000 right there, all for doing the right thing. But see, people don't see that. All they see is that you fired a weapon, you took a life, and somebody's got to pay for that. So what is my suggestions? What do I live by? If I see another individual who's in distress or is actually being fired upon, then I have to think about the possibility that, you know what, it's not affecting me. I still have the opportunity to run, hide, and fight. And this individual should have known these rules too and run, hide, and fight. Did he do that? Or he or she do that? Did they have the opportunity to do that? I don't know. It's not my call, man. You've seen people who weapons pointed at them and they just freeze. I mean, they you want them to run and hide. They got a weapon pointed at them, and it's like, you know what? Some people just freeze, and I don't blame them. But these are the rules that they have in place to quell or to persecute or to bring people to the knowledge that if you shoot somebody in self-defense or in defense of others, you're going to go to jail. You're going to have to go answer for a crime, which is not even a crime. I think in New York, and quote me if I'm wrong on this, but I think in New York there was an individual, he was a Marine, and there was an individual on the subway, and he was obviously deranged. He was screwing a lot of people, threatening their lives, whole 9 yards or whatever, hitting people, all this or whatever. Well, this former Marine, he ended up taking this guy's life. Not shooting, but he had put him in a chokehold. He's still going to trial. He's still in handcuffs. He's still going to trial because he was protecting other people. And those people on the subway said, thank you. He was bothering the shit out of me. I was in fear for my life, and thank you for stepping in. But the court didn't see it that way. They still got him on trial. And the criminal case is still going. So guess what? Civil trial's coming up. Because nobody wants to admit that, hey, nobody wants to admit the fact is that, hey, this guy was right and he should have done that or whatever. If you do, your head's on the chopping block, because the fact is that, you're killing an innocent man. No, he wasn't innocent. But now all of a sudden you're the bad guy. And in court, in public opinion, the whole 9 yards, those things are going to get brought up, and there'll be a trial by media, like in this case, and you're going to be put on the hot spot. And you would hope that a jury and a court would see this and drop the case or whatever, but no. And the way they present it to the jury is they're going to turn around like you're the aggressor. So what do I suggest? Mind your own damn business. If there's an individual in there with a gun, okay, anywhere around there or whatever, you tactfully move away from the situation. You protect yourself, you run, you hide, and in all case scenarios, then you fight. When your life is in danger of serious bodily harm. So that's the only instance that you can actually get away with this situation and maybe avoid jail time. People will say, look at this video and say, man, you're a coward or whatever. No, I'm not. I've never been a freaking coward as far as pulling the trigger. But what I'm saying is that it's something that for you to think about. So anyway, like, stream, whatever you want to do, whatever. But anyway, take this into consideration. Hey, it came in.